This podcast is sponsored by FortuneFavours.ie. FortuneFavours.ie is a home workout equipment store and your one-stop shop for all home gym equipment. They are well known for their adjustable dumbbells, which combine 15 different weights in one dumbbell. They have both 24 kg and 40 kg adjustable dumbbells. Check the link in the bio of this episode for more information. So welcome back to the podcast. I am here with Dan Bannon from the Louth and Proud Podcast just to discuss this weekend's game between Cork and Louth at Páirc Uí Chaoimh, 2 o'clock GA go on Saturday. Should be a very interesting game. Cork go in as favourites for this game, but Louth, Division 3 champions, will definitely put it up to the Rebels in this game. I suppose, first of all, Dan, how have you been over the last few days? Like, an exciting game to look forward to on Saturday.
Really good, really hyped up, Matthew. In terms of looking forward to the game, we played our last game the 1st of May, so we have about 34 days to kind of stew over that result and then get hyped up for this game. 2 weeks on from the draw, like we're really like I gaze at that. It's a winnable draw for Louth, but wouldn't be a very exciting game for the fans and the spectators to get their teeth into. And then the fact that it's away from home as well adds to that kind of little bit of a, okay, right, there's going to be no real occasion here. We've no real tradition with Cork. Like, we've barely played this. This is only our third championship meeting, in the whole history of GA. So there's nothing really for the fans to sink their teeth into. And then the fact then that we won't be going down to it, it means like a lot of people will be watching on GA Go, or they might just tune into local radio or follow our updates on the game. So that kind of levels a little bit of malaise on it. But in general, the Louth people are kind of thinking, right, we mightn't be there, but we've a great chance of getting over the line and getting to the next step and getting the next stage of the qualifiers, which would be massive for Louth. It would be a massive achievement. And another achievement for Mickey and Gavin in charge of Louth.
I suppose it definitely will, yeah. Louth reaching the next round of the qualifiers with all them big teams and being Division 3 champions would have been a brilliant season. Now, this season so far, I've actually only watched Louth one game against Limerick in the Division 3 final. You were impressive in that game, I have to say, in Croke Park. But the other games I haven't watched, maybe down to the lack of coverage shown to Division 3 teams. But you did very well at Division 3, winning 5 games. Then winning the league final, of course, beating Carlow. But then against Kildare, kind of a shock there, a big loss when a lot of people expected a tight game. Like, what have you made of Louth season so far? Like, it's very good in Division 3, but the Kildare game must have been disappointing.
It was definitely disappointing, but it was kind of more or less expected. Would it have been a massive ask for us to beat Kildare in terms of air development? And Kildare are more or less a Division 1 side. We're just coming up the ranks. We're kind of getting ourselves together, or getting our act together in terms of strength conditioning off the field and bringing ourselves up to that professional kind of elite squad. And like, we kind of maxed out in the league to a certain extent, because if you asked what do we make allowed this season, it was so hard to gauge them, because the first 2 games we were closer to relegation than promotion. And I mean that because we were terrible against Laois at home. And then we drew an absolute horrendous game with Longford. And we were winning well. We were comfortable. We should have won by more. And then we didn't even win at all. We had to scrape a last-minute free kick to draw the game. That point was nearly massive. It got us a bit of relief in terms of getting our score and took the pressure off. And then we went on a string of momentous wins. We won so many in a row. That kicked off below in Limerick. A horrible day. Where the game was changed from the Gaelic grounds to UL, the AstroTurf pitch in UL, and it just snowballed. It literally just snowballed. That game had snowballs. It had everything in it, the hail and the whole lot. And our season just took off from there. We went through everyone. Then we beat everyone at home. We had a really good away win against Fermanagh, and then it stepped up into that league final where we had to beat Limerick again, and we were very comfortable. We probably didn't play that well. We didn't play as well as we could. We probably played our best football against Fermanagh and against Antrim and getting up. And then, like I said, we might have maybe slumped off a little bit because we didn't play well against Carlow. That was a week before we played Kildare, and you kind of thought, right, what's going on here? We got, like, obviously we beat Carlow, we did a very professional job. And then we went into the game against Kildare, not overly maybe believing as a fan and supporters, or maybe the players themselves. And then it kind of caught up where we just weren't good enough. And then they really put a high score on us, which is annoying because Kildare are a good side, and it didn't show it at all against Dublin. And it makes us look really poor then because we were beaten by 16 points by them. When in fact, in all reality, in all kind of, I don't know, planes being level, they're not that bad. They're somewhere in between. They're not as bad as they showed against Dublin, and they're not as good as they showed against us. We set up a little bit naively. We kind of thought we'd take them on man for man, and we kind of look. We got through for a couple of goal chances, but we didn't take them. And you have to be taking them as an underdog. And the thing about Mickey, we were close to relegation at the start of the league. He really works on his team. He really educates his players. He changed his team around. He tinkered with it. He got probably his best team out for the league run by the end of it. And now, having lost to Kildare, he comes back and he'll probably have a really, really kind of plan for Cork. And he's brilliant with that.
It's actually interesting, Mickey Harte point with the Louth team. Like, you see them a few years ago, all our contenders with Tyrone. And interesting, like the last time Mickey Harte actually faced Cork as Tyrone manager, it was a 3-point game in Croke Park. It was a very close game, but Tyrone won it at the end. Mainly down to defensive tactics, I would say, in that game. Like, would we expect more of that in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, or you're not really expecting Louth to go full throttle in this game? Or, like, the Mickey Harte way is really to sit back and hit teams on the counter attack. Will we see that in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, do you think, or will we see a differentiation of tactics?
Yeah, I do, Matthew. I think Mickey, I think he gets unfairly labelled as a defensive manager. His teams are very intense in the tackle. But like, we played some really good stuff, and people would say, "Oh, Mickey Harte's defensive," but we played really good stuff, and getting a real balance to our play. We like you said, we soak up the pressure and we hit teams in the counter attack. It's been really, really beneficial throughout getting up the leagues. Against Kildare, we kind of went a little bit away from that because you're kind of caught. Then do we let Kildare have all this possession? Do we let them have? Do we concede the kick out, or should we battle for the kick out? And we weren't used to their power and that exposure of a Division 1 side, and then we didn't set up kind of pragmatically. And I think that's the massive learning curve Mickey will have taken from that game ahead of Cork. There's no way we're going to be wide open as we did. He named his team on Thursday, and you can see it in his selection of his side. He's gone back to kind of youth, young legs, industry, hard-working players across the board in every line. And I think we will see that. I think we'll try and soak up the Cork pressure and hit you on the counter-attack. And the way I see it is, the longer we keep the scoreline tight, the better chance we have of causing a little bit of insecurity in Cork, because they're going to be the favourites. They're at home. They're not going to, like Cork, these younger players would have been successful at college and obviously at under 20. They wouldn't have came across Louth, and I think they'll be going in with a little bit of complacency, not like, you can't really help it, yourself. You go in and you face Louth, they'll be well prepared. But I just think if we get that insecurity built up, bit of panic towards the end, and we have something to hold on and defend the lead, we could shade it. That's what we're hoping for anyway.
It's actually interesting you mentioned the amount of times these young players have faced Louth, because like the last time Cork faced Louth in any game, league or championship, was that 2020 game. It was the first game after lockdown, actually, and it was in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, coincidentally. But that game, Colin Kelly was in charge of your team. You set out to kind of frustrate us a small bit by playing a bit, man for man again, as you said, not with Mickey's tactics, though with Colin Kelly's. And in the end, Louth got destroyed. Cork scored 5 goals in the end. Like, we're definitely going to see more of a better Louth performance than that day, surely.
To be fair, it was Wayne Kieran's, not Colin Kelly.
Wayne Kieran's, sorry.
He's a local man. And I think with Wayne as well, I don't think we were used to playing that physical team, like that Cork had. And Cork, I think we did set up quite well that day, but Cork just had some class footballers. Like, to be fair and to be not harsh on the current forwards that you have there, but like Mark Collins was playing that day, and I don't think there's a forward in that starting lineup that you played against Kerry as good as Mark Collins. He tore us apart when he came off the bench. For preparations, we probably weren't firing on all cylinders down there, but Cork were really good, and in that wide open space of Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Now, I wasn't actually at that game. I couldn't get down to that. But I was at the game at Páirc Uí Rinn a couple of seasons before that, and we coped an awful lot better with the kind of tight reins of the pitch, and hopefully that'll come round again this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Though they were struggling at that time, but now they've gained a bit of confidence under Mickey Harte now. And even look at your scores throughout the year, like the obvious one that jumps off the page is Sam Mulroy, 567 overall in League of Championship, what I could say. Like, the guy is an absolute machine, to say the least. Like, what a player he is. Even that game at Páirc Uí Chaoimh, he scored a ridiculous tally that day as well. Like he's been a brilliant player for Louth's talisman for years now.
He's a ferocious free taker, and a marvelous leader in taking on that leadership role. He's still relatively young, Matthew. Like, he's only 23 or 4. I think he's 24. But he's just taken that mantle on. He's taken on the kind of role of I'm the kind of leader of this team. I wanted to put the team on my back and hit the scores and take that responsibility on. And he really does. He comes up trumps with his free taking. And they're the sort of free kicks, Matthew, that you might enjoy this in terms of stats. It's these long range ones. They're from 50 yards out. Like you're taking a 50. That's all his long range ones. And they go unnoticed because usually it's the goalkeeper that comes out to take them, whereas it's just Sam takes them. And it's become unerringly weird when he misses a free, because it's like Loud people are so spoiled. He never misses a free. And then off that, Mickey has kind of seen it. He's like, right, I have a really, really high level. He's probably one of the best free takers in Ireland, especially at long range. So Mickey's kind of seen that. He says, right, I'm going to build my team around that strength. We run at teams, we run right down the middle. We kind of drive at people around the fringes of where the terms of engagement around the D, and we usually win free kicks from there. And some teams will be settled, right, that's a good foul them out there. But Sam can nail them over the bar. And with very, very high percentage rates of scoring. And that allows us then to kind of breathe into the game. It keeps our scoring rate up. We're out of a game. It keeps us in touch with the scoreboard ticking over. And it's been a massive part of how Louth have got up the leagues, to be honest with you. And to be fair to Sam, he really puts it in as well. He done a lot of work over lockdown, and really honed his skills and honed that free taking ability. And it's proved that, like, he's the top scorer in the National League this year.
Yeah, absolutely. What a player Sam Mulroy is. But yes, Mulroy is an outstanding player, but there's other players stepping up as well. I noticed Kieran Burns. I think, honestly, he's one of the most underrated players in the country. 213 in the league and the championship. Former AFL player as well. Like, he's going to be crucial on Saturday if you're going to get a result as well. Like, him catching high balls in the air as well. Excellent high fielder. Brilliant scorer as well. So he can help Mulroy in a way as well.
Yeah, he's been kind of he's been used as a impact sub until the final. Actually, he started in the game against Limerick in Croke Park. He's a big game player. He has that sort of kind of, I don't know, he can, the X factor, I suppose you'd say. He could do something out of nothing. Now sometimes he's liable, like he could sky a ball in the air. He could give the ball away real cheaply. But then he backs himself every time. And he's been massive in games of coming off the bench, where he comes off for 20 minutes and just massive in terms of getting scores, vital scores. And Mickey has named him to start the weekend, and he'll be a handful because he'll enjoy that occasion. He'll enjoy the surface. He'll enjoy playing in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. He did play in the middle of the field last season, but he's been seen more of an advanced forward, or maybe sometimes he can float out to the half forward line as well. But yeah, a really good option, and a player that kind of went away from things. He got hurt with his injury when he came back home from that spell in Australia, but he's got back into the groove and he's got his injury woes out of the way, and he'll definitely have an impact in this game. And he could be key, like you said, alongside Sam's free taking.
Yeah, absolutely. Like there's other players as well that don't necessarily seem to score, but they perform well enough in the league and the championship. Like Tommy Durden in midfield, I was very impressed with him against Limerick in that final. The two Jacksons, Liam and Tom, brilliant at getting goals as well. Like Liam scored two so far as I could gather in league and championship. Tom's scored one as well. Like a lot of them fringe players, Kieran Downey as well. A lot of them fringe players can help in a way for Louth, other than Sam, of course, who does the bulk of the scoring.
Yeah, we Mickey's developed a panel. He's got young players in. He's trusted them. The likes of Tom Jackson's getting his first championship start. Liam Jackson's come on bound under Mickey. He would have made his debut with Wayne. I think he did play. He played in the middle of the field in that game in 2020. He's good football. And he got 2 goals. He got a goal against Limerick in the league and then in the league final. So he likes playing against Limerick. But you're right. And Kieran Downey as well, really sharp. He's been so sharp in front of the post that he's had to play more inside forward. He was playing out the field. He can link the play. He's named to play in the wing with number 12 at his back. He's very crafty footballer, probably the most skillful player in the panel from the Newtown Blues. But yeah, really good footballer. And Mickey's had to develop his panel, because we need options the way the game has gone. But a big player that's kind of missing this season that would have been massive, and he's just back. He's kind of in around the panel, is Kieran Kiki Keenan. He came on actually to make his debut, his loud debut in that game against Park Keevan. He hit the crossbar. And I looked at the footage back, and it was over the line. So he's robbed the goal on his debut. So he might want to get a goal off the bench this weekend. But he's one to watch out for, Matthew, if he does come on. He's a very, very crafty, old school, finds the space, finds the pockets of space, creates goals. He always creates goals, beats the man, and causes overlaps. So he's an exciting option to have and to bring in off the bench too.
Definitely is, yeah. And when you look at the Louth team, yeah, Mickey Harte, that's the main thing he's done, I suppose, is build the team. But looking at Cork, honestly, no, I personally see Cork in every game so far in League of Championship. Maybe not so much the Roscommon game because I couldn't get to it listening on the radio. But have you seen much of Cork in preparation for this game or not?
I watched the whole game back against Kerry, and I watched all the league highlights as well, and the snippets. And to be honest with you, I said it to Mick Foley during the week. I was doing a podcast with him. I thought I was very underwhelmed with Cork because obviously Louth were playing that day as well. I think I didn't see it live, but all I was hearing was, "Oh, Cork really put it up to Kerry." And I looked at it back, and I know I obviously knew the result, but I was thinking Cork were never going to win the game, And like it took them a while to score from play, and then in the end they were very well like beating out the gate. And I know injuries and that did happen. They were unfortunate with Michael Old Martin going off, and that didn't help with David Moore coming off the bench and dominating the midfield and giving the supply of possession towards the end. But I was underwhelmed with Cork, and that's what gave me a little bit of confidence. I was like, right, they're a good side. Like, no, there's no doubt in your quality. Like Sean Powter, Hurley, Sherlock. I've always been a fan of O'Mahony, and Ian Maguire as well. Like, he's such an honest player in the middle of the field. But I kind of feel like, right, this is Cork in name, but we could get at them here, and especially looking at that game against Kerry.
Yeah, it's interesting that you think that about the Cork team. I actually didn't watch the game at full. I was busy that weekend, but I watched it full actually in preparation for the Louth game, and I actually thought we were absolutely excellent in the first half. We had more turnovers than Kerry, for example, in that first half. But I think the second half we kind of petered out. I think that was down to fitness with this Cork team. A lot of them are young players. Like Kerry have been around the block for a few years now, and they're all Ireland favourites, and rightly so. But I think, no disrespect though, but with a team like Louth, I think this Cork team can pull fire though. But the worry is with this Cork team is injuries. Like Kevin Flaherty got an ACL injury in the Kerry game last time out. You mentioned Micheál Martin going off injured. Like Dylan Foley, that was the only time he played championship football in goal. He only played in goal other than that in Sickerson Cup for UCC. And then again, he wasn't really punching the lights out of that competition either. So that could be an area where Louth could exploit, especially with Mulroy, Downey, and the Jackson brothers there as well. Like, that's an area that they can exploit those, because Cork defensively, the injuries there are colossal.
Well, with the goalie going out, will Chris Kelly go on goals? Has Cork named their team, or do they name their team beforehand?
They haven't named their team as of recording yet. They named it at 8 o'clock on Friday, but like,
Okay.
Dylan Foley came on in place
Yeah.
of Beyond Martin. I'm not sure what the story is with Chris Kelly, to be honest with you. Like, he played against Galway, he got injured, Hall came on. So he might come back in. I'm not entirely sure. They're actually from the same club, coincidentally.
They're from
Chris,
Nemo.
sorry? Well, yeah, Chris
They're
is
from
in.
Nemo, the two boys.
They're from Eire.
Oh, no, Oak, sorry, Dylan Foley is the same club. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, I get you. Okay, right. So, with stats, is Kelly's kickouts good at a high percent? Are they long? Is he a short game keeper, or does he like to boom it out in the middle of the field, or what way is he? What's his style or his approach?
Well, I suppose it depends on the game. Like, against Derry, he kind of went short. Well, I suppose we weren't going to, compete with that Derry midfield with Emmett Bradley and Conor Glass. But against Galway, I know Paul Conroy was there, but he seemed to go long with those kickouts.
Okay.
So it's interesting to see, like, against Louth, I'm not entirely sure, will he go long or will he go short? Like, is your midfield up to the standard? I know Colm O'Callaghan and Ian Maguire will definitely be your midfielders, most likely, on Saturday, but will Louth be able to compete with him if the ball goes long?
Yeah, that'll play right into Tommy Dornan and Conor Early's hands. You would have seen him pluck balls in Tommy Dornan's final against Limerick. Loves that. Boom it out high. They'll compete. They're very good at competing. Conor Early's matched up with Ian Maguire well before. I think in his debut season he marked him in Páirc Uí Rinn and did very well. So that'll suit Louth. If Chris Kelly wants to bomb the ball on top of them, that'll suit us, and we're very good at getting breaks around the middle of the field. But if like Kildare did hurt us going short and driving up the field, because we were kind of caught in limbo. We didn't push fully up on them, or we didn't have the time to push up fully on them, and we didn't completely sit back and get ourselves reset. So I'd say we'll allow you to have the short kickouts. That's just a bit of a guess. We're going to go pragmatic. We're going to let you have that kick out, and then kind of meet us at the 40-yard line, because we're not going to allow you to like drive and take us kind of apart when we're not set up, which is where we're vulnerable against Kildare.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's going to be very interesting, this kick-out battle, where Cork are going to go. Like, half the time with the Cork kick-outs, personally, I don't know where we're going half the time. We don't really have a kick-out strategy, which in this day and age isn't good enough in intercounty football. Like, Louth probably would have copped onto that. Like, I know against Kerry, there was some positives, there was great turnovers and all that. But the main thing that stood out, we didn't really have a kick-out strategy either in that game. We only won 50% of our own kickouts in that game. So, I'd be guessing, like, if Louth are going to let us go short, I think we're going to go short. Like, that's just my guess and your guess about Louth pushing back. But we'll have to see about that. One aspect I'm actually very interested in is who's going to pick up Sam Mulroy. Like, undoubtedly, we mentioned earlier on what an outstanding player he is, 567 in the whole year so far. But Kevin Flahive is now injured with an ACL. Sean Meehan's out. Daniel O'Mahony's out. I'm just wondering, like, I can't really pick out a Cork player in that defence that would be good enough to pick up Sam Mulroy, that has the calibre to deal with a brilliant player like him. So that has to be a positive going into the game for Louth fans.
Yeah, and the way Mickey lines out his team, Sam plays in the 40, and that, like, if you go or like he plays in the 40, he floats in between full forward and the 40 yards. But what's brilliant, what Mickey does is he nails him on the 40, floats into full forward, and if he played at number 14, Shanley would just pick him up. So now he causes a dilemma in Cork's defence, where a man marker has to go out on 6. And then for a time, Sam pulls the 6 out of there, and there's the whole kind of wide open space for Louth to run into, because say Rory Maguire is going to be occupied by Sam. So it's a brilliant kind of management take by Mickey, that Sam he does have to be man marked. Now I know I mentioned a free taking. He's really good at getting goals. if he gets the ball, if there's a turnover, he is really efficient at finding net. Like he's like a prowling lion hunting his prey when he has the ball in his hands on a turnover or break. He just comes right through, casual, compose himself, and usually makes the right decision by either shooting himself or laying it off inside. I think Rory Maguire would match up physically well with him. I think Shanley's a really good footballer. I'm hearing really good things about him as well. And I would like to know from yourself, could Shanley play out at 6? Like, would he, or is he like a fullback out at C if he went out at 6?
I would agree with you on your earlier point about Shanley. Once he's full back, he probably just stays in there. He's done so in the past with, let's say, David Clifford did that 2020 Barkeen game. He did it with Shea McGuigan in the league in 2020 when Derry were in Division 3. He did it with Conor Sweeney in the Munster final as well. He's done well really half the time. Like, it's kind of tough at Maurice Shanley. Like, he's an excellent footballer, and he did well enough against Kerry the last day. He has some steals to that defence, but it'll be interesting to see how he does against like a smaller team like Louth, like against Tipperary after his brilliant performance against Kerry in 2020. Against Tip, he got roasted by Conor Sweeney. So it's going to be very interesting to see how he approaches the game. You mentioned Rory Maguire there. Rory, I would think, is more of an attacking player from centre back. Like, he scored a lot for Cork. Like, he'd have to sacrifice that now if he's going to mark a player with the caliber of Sam Mulroy. And you look at, I'm thinking of other players, Sean Powder as well. He could go on him. He did it with Sean O'Shea in that 2020 game against Kerry. But the caveat to that is, Sean Powder, we need him attacking as well. He's an excellent attacker coming out from the defence and driving us up the field. If he's going to be picking up Mulroy, he has to stick at him like glue. So that's going to be a bit of a dilemma for the Cork selectors on who's going to actually be on Mulroy for the game.
And will you play a sweeper?
We've played it before, but it doesn't seem to work. That's the issue. We usually play man on man. Honestly, like, I don't think Louth would be like as you mentioned there, or I didn't watch the game, no, but apparently he played man on man against Kildare and he got roasted. I don't think Louth would make that same mistake. So that could be an area where Cork need to brush up on. Like, you look at the defenders there, Sean Powder. Like, I think we have a half back line there. That's the main thing. We've had the half back line for the last 3 games now with John Cooper, Rory Maguire, and Matty Taylor.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with Cooper. Cooper's excellent. He's a real find. Yeah, he's really good. We'll have to keep our eye. We'll have to play with a defensive approach on the wing forward positions. But when you mention Maguire driving forward, that could suit Cork as well if Sam has to chase him. You know, and that keeps Sam further away from goals. That could be a way or a ploy as well from Cork's point of view, to keep Rory, or maybe that Sam drifts into the fullback and to keep Rory from driving up the field, or Powder if he does go back there as well. But like with our matchups, like Harte, very physical player. I think he's one of the best out of those 3. Sherlock is impressive for the bar. I've seen him against Kilcoo. But I'd say Bevan Duffy will probably go on Hurley, and then Donald McKenny will probably pick up Sherlock, and then Dan Cork will go on Mahoney. He's kind of lower centre of gravity, similar to Cathal Mahoney. Like, and I think that's the matchup there. And to be honest with you, like, having played Kildare, I think Kildare's forward line is far more potent. You know, and weirdly enough with this Cork team, there's a kind of precedence there to know where the scores are going to come from with Cork. There's a bit of a pattern, you know, whereas Kildare, like Ben McCormick could hit us from the 40. You had the whole full forward line, you had options off the bench, scores coming from everywhere. I think that'll suit Mickey, that there's a pattern of play that if we have to just, like, if we hold, say, Stephen Sherlock scoreless and let Brian Hurley on Mahoney, or even if we kept Hurley scoreless, that'll be very hard for Cork to get those scores. You know, that's what Mickey's probably hinging his game on too.
It's actually interesting you mentioned the forwards we have. We're most likely going to start with that full forward line in Hurley, Sherlock and O'Mahony. You say Hurley's probably the strongest. I'd argue Hurley's probably the weakest out of them 3.
Yeah, like, he's gone backwards, is he? Is his kind of... Is the injuries caught up on him?
Well, like after his injuries initially, his bad injuries, he actually played very well against Laois in that one game in the All Ireland. He played very well in the Super 8s against Dublin then. So I don't know, is it just he's off form or something like that? And maybe he's not taking the frees as often now. It's going to be Stephen Sherlock that's going to take the frees. Maybe there's a bit of frustration there with Hurley. I'm not entirely sure what the whole story is, but I don't think he's as potent as he was. Like Sherlock and O'Mahony. Like O'Mahony, watch him now on Saturday. He can kick
Yeah.
from long distances out. He can kick beyond the 45. He's an unbelievable kicker of the ball if we get it to him. And even coming off the bench, like if Blake Murphy's on the bench, like I've seen him in the league, I've seen him in under 20. He's an excellent footballer. He runs at defences. He isn't afraid. And he's not afraid to take some skill shots as well. Like he took one against Waterford in the McGrath Cup, probably one of the points of 2022 so far. And even I was hearing Jack Halland's going to be on the bench as well. Conor Corbett, the young minor that took the minor championship by storm a few seasons ago, is supposed to be training with the senior team. So maybe he's going to be on the bench as well. Like all these options, I know Loud and Mickey might have had a set strategy on this, but like when these players come on, if they come on, of course, like Cahalane, Blake Murphy, Conor Corbett potentially, would that worry you as a Loud fan with all these ammunition coming on for Cork?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like probably the difference between the two sides, the level of players you have, and then obviously there's like geographical reasons for that. But that's always been the worry with Cork. Like just we could only be but envious of the amount of players you possess. You know, you probably have about 20 players that are injured or stepped away from the panel. You know, we would only, Jesus, if we had 20 players, it'd be an epidemic. We wouldn't have be able to field a team. You know, that's just the difference between the sides. Maybe it will come down to that. You know, like your parents get you over the line, but we'll be hoping that we stifle that. And like obviously they're not starting for a reason. I don't think they're playing for that impact role. I don't think it's a tactical decision by Cleary to have them coming off the bench. So if we're doing well and we're holding what's there, in the starting 15, that'll give Louth a boost too. And then I know you mentioned those younger players. If those younger players have to come off the bench to win a game in a pressure game, that's a different story. That's a different perspective altogether. And that would play into Louth's hands too. Like, right, fair enough, you go for it. And if you want to beat us, do, but you'll have to really, really earn it.
Absolutely. Loud are not going to take us lying down, definitely not. And we were mentioning off air that the game is on in Páirc Uí Chaoimh as well. Like, this is an interesting factor. Like, I reconcile you mentioned off air that Loud would be suited to this despite playing in Croke Park already this year. Cork, I think we're better playing in Páirc Uí Rinn. And looking at Ticketmaster, bizarrely, only the South Stand lower will be open for this game. So the stadium will be literally empty for this game, which is a bizarre decision in hindsight that this game is on in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Like, you think that Páirc Uí Chaoimh won't suit the Loud players despite playing in such a brilliant ground and letting the Loud players express themselves in a way?
Not for the expression kind of reasons, more so that if this game was on the Páirc Uí Rinn with the tighter dimensions, that would suit us down to the ground, especially going in as underdogs. You want a tight pitch, you want a tight field, you want to kind of narrow the kind of pitch down, make it as small as possible. And with, like, obviously I haven't been in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, the new Páirc Uí Chaoimh. I wasn't even in the old one, but there's going to be more space to poke holes through us or get around the side or cut through the blanket. And that's a bit of a worry. Now, obviously, there's going to be, if we set up like that, there'll be plenty of room for us to break into, plenty of space for us to expose on your way. But coming in as underdogs, you kind of want that sort of thing going your way. And the fact that there'll be nobody there kind of sanitize it a little bit as well, makes it more of a challenge match. You don't have the crowd getting involved. So, well, maybe if there's not that much of a Cork crowd there, could come across that way as well. I don't know. It's just, for me, if it was in Páirc Uí Rinn, it would have given us a little bit more of a chance. And I just think that it's a slight nod to you. Although, like, a couple of the players have played, I think 7 of the players that is named to start played there the last day in 2020. So it won't be unfamiliarity. It'll just be that vast space that we'll probably kind allowing you to have in terms of possession and sitting back and trying to hit you on the counter attack. It's a lot easier to do in a tighter pitch, I suppose, would be my main point, Matthew.
And I suppose it's interesting to notice the support in this game as well. I know there won't be much Cork support because the Hurlers, coincidentally, are still in the championship and they have a game, as far as I know, next week against a Joe McDonagh Cup team. But you mentioned off there as well, there won't be much Louth support. Is that right?
No, I wouldn't say so. I'd say with just like it'll be 3.5 hours. Maybe if you're coming from Dundalk, you're adding another half hour. That's 4 hours. And then the way it is on the bank holiday weekend, the hotel prices are jacked up and rooms are hard to get. So that, and then it was only 2 weeks out. If there was a week before to kind of book a hotel or plan, you might have had a better chance. I think there is supporters bus going. And then you'll obviously have the family, the players, and there will be a few diehard supporters going down. But like, if this game was an RD, it'd be another story. Like we would have a massive crowd to it, and hopefully, if we get to the next round, we'll have a big crowd. Maybe an RD or Navan or wherever. If we're somewhere more suited locally, with less the price of diesel, Matthew. It's a big impact.
Sure, geez, the Kerry Hurlers had the same problem mentioned in another episode of the podcast. Like, they couldn't even find accommodation because of refugees coming into the country as well. Like, that's another issue and something that needs to be sorted. But back to the game anyway. Final word on the game anyway. Are you confident as a Louth fan to win this game and potentially cause a shock, or do you think Cork will just have enough to win it?
As a Louth fan, Matthew, you're never confident of victory. That's just been the way for years. You're brought up that way. But I do feel like we've had more or less a pre-season in the middle of the season. We didn't get it. We didn't get that kind of bounce last season because obviously it was one and done. We're beaten by Offaly. That was it. Good luck. You go back to your clubs. We're beaten by Kildare. Mickey gets a chance to make us learn and regroup and re-energize the players, get the injuries out of the road, kind of get lads recovery and rested up. And Mickey will really, really pick apart Cork and their players, especially, and their weaknesses. And that gives us a really good chance. We'll be very well prepared. We always are, and we'll be competitive. And I think, if, like we said earlier on, if the game is tight, the lead is going to be vital. If we get that early lead and build on it, it'll make it a really good game. Because it's just the way things are. You're a Division 1, Division 2 team, with a lot of players missing still there. But we'll go down well prepared, well stacked up. We have kind of a method of playing, and we'll have a plan to stop ye. And I think if all goes to plan, we'll just get over the line. But it's very hard to say that we'll win. Obviously, you're looking at the two sides. You think Cork should win. But if any bit of insecurity there, Cork start to panic, I think Louth will I think seize that opportunity.
It'll be a very tight game. I think it'll be tighter than most people think. It's a tough one. Like yourself with Louth, you never bat the Cork footballers. You don't know what's gonna come around the horizon. But I would say Cork should win this game. I'm not like. Louth will definitely put it up to us. There's no doubt about that, and we won't take Louth lightly. I just think Cork will just have enough, but it should be a decent game to look forward to. Well, do you think it'll be kind of a defensive game or attacking? We'll be hoping for an attacking game anyway on Saturday.
Yeah, I think Louth play. They express themselves. Regardless, they'll get men behind the ball. They'll definitely break up the field. They're really good at breaking up the field. They're devastating. Like Colin McKeever, you mentioned Liam Jackson, Niall Sharkey at centre half. He's just like an absolute little pocket rocket that drives up the field and gives us a great kind of platform to build off. And then we have scores that just come off the runners, or if it comes down to free taking, Sam will nail them. Like we've gotten away from being really defensive that game against Longford, and like you said, Páirc Uí Chaoimh, it'll definitely bring the best out of the players in that sort of sense of beautiful pitch. Really nice to show off your skills and be a part of an occasion. So yeah, I do. I would agree with that point, Matthew.
Yeah, it should be a very, very interesting game, all right. And definitely looking forward to going into it at 2:00 on Saturday at Páirc Uí Chaoimh. I suppose we'll leave it there, Dan. Thank you very much for coming on to the podcast. And I suppose wish you the best of luck for the game. May the best team win on Saturday, and hopefully Louth put a game, and hopefully it'll be a good game more than anything else in Parky Cleave. Should be a cracker, hopefully.
No, but yeah, hopefully it'll be probably the ones where the camera should be at, but they're not. Hopefully get over the line. Thanks for having me, Matthew.